So hello guys. So today we are going to talk about server-side rendering versus client-side rendering, and we are also going to talk about the differences between Next.js and React.js. So this video is going to be for people who have some experience with React. I don't expect you to know much about Next.js, but if you just know a few lines of code here and there in React, this is going to be a very knowledgeable video for you. And I require that because I can't explain you the benefits of Next.js, how it's different from React without you actually knowing about React. For the people who don't know about React, I've also like given a very basic overview of what React is. If you don't know what React is, it's just a JS framework, JavaScript framework that basically helps developers create websites. You don't need to write raw HTML in order to create the websites. You just write the code in React and it gets converted into HTML. And how the conversion is done, that's what we are going to talk about today. And that's all about React, just a basic brief if you don't know what React is. And if you don't know what Next is, if you know what React is, just think of Next as a successor of React because it's almost similar to React. Its functionality exceeds React. It has everything that React has got, but it builds on top of it. It's if you don't know, it's built by Vercel. If you don't know what Vercel is, it's one of the biggest uh, deploying hosting services. Uh, so that's it about them. Uh, a little bit about rendering also. I've covered this in my basics also. So what is rendering? Because today we are going to talk about server side rendering and client side rendering. So it's important for us to note what rendering actually means. For the people out there who uh, edit videos and stuff, you must be knowing, you must be having some idea about what rendering is. Uh, you guys must have used some softwares like Adobe After Effects or something like that. So you must have seen that the video is rendering and stuff. You might have also heard this rendering word related to games and like games, videos, and stuff like these. So what rendering basically means is nothing but creating. So it's just creating something. So what are we creating today? It's just websites, the contents inside those websites. That's what we are talking about. That's what we are rendering today. So that's basically what rendering means. Like if I uh, go to a new page and if I see these things, or if I just visit a page like, uh, let's say, Twitter. So if I view a page like Twitter, I have all these pages, I have these tweets and stuff. So how does all this work? These are all rendered, all right. These are all created. These are all shown on my screen. So the process of like creating and showing it, that's what basically rendering means. That's roughly what rendering means uh, for videos also. Like you edit the video and then you export the video and then you maybe upload it on YouTube or you share it with people. So that's what rendering basically means. It's like creating something. And today we are creating websites. So uh, of the three words, we have learned the first, the actually the last word, which is rendering. So now what's the part about the server side and client side? Just to give you uh, a brief about how the websites, like how you write React and then how it converts into the websites that you see. Uh, let's just like maybe like revisit the page of Twitter once more. Like, how do you think that this page is made? Like, if you know little bit about React, you might be knowing that we create components in React. Basically, components, for those of you who don't know what components are nothing but they are reusable pieces of code. You can think of them like function or something like that. So basically, we uh, reuse them whenever we want. Like this button, if you see other buttons on Twitter, they look almost like this one. If you see this one, this has some like a curved boundary. This one also has curved boundary, but this the color of this is different. If I see some this button and this button looks identical, this one looks identical. So if you are a React developer, you must be inferring from that that all these are components. All these are also components. The posts are also components because they are repeatable, they are reusable. The information is new. All right. The information is new. The author, the basically the title of the tweet, the main content of the tweet, the images, all those are new. All those are different for each of those tweets. But what remains same is the structure of the tweet. So that's why we use components in React, and that's primarily why we as developers shifted from using HTML, writing raw HTML to using React.js. So how do you think that when you write the component codes for in React, how do you think that all those gets converted into a website like this? So let's first talk about the client side rendering. Okay, like how it happens in React. Like let's see the flow of how all of it works. So uh, I was showing you the example of Twitter, but let's say there is a user, you are the user and you are hitting the google.com domain, you're hitting the domain google.com. So what happens? Now, let's say that google.com for now is, let's say it's written in maybe, let's say, for our example, let's say it's written in React. So what happens when I type google.com? So basically what happens is when I try to visit google.com, the browser that I'm using, all right, right now I'm using a Brave browser. You might be using Chrome, you might be using Safari and other stuff. But what the browser does is it makes a request to google.com, and then basically all the content of the website, like this search button, this search bar, this search by voice button, all these buttons are then fetched from google.com server. So when I'm like typing google.com, before I press enter, nothing is happening right now. But when I press enter, my browser makes a request to the google.com server, and then all this is fetched. All right. Now let's assume that the google.com website is written in React. So what happens is basically the browser makes a request, and then the browser gets back the empty HTML file. Now what does this mean? So basically, uh, if I go, I think Google might be written in, just a second. Let's see over here. Does it work? Okay, it's not what I expected. Let's try it with X maybe or some other website. Let's try it. Just a second. So this is a perfect example uh, for what we are learning today. So if you can try this with any React website you want. So you can just go to the network tab, and then if you just click on refresh and go to the top, we'll see just go to the topmost request, and then you can see all the requests that it made. All right. So as I said that when I try to visit google.com, the browser makes a request to google.com. In this case, I try to visit localhost. So the request URL, localhost 8080 port. So it made a request to this URL. And what was the request method? You don't need to worry about all this. I want to just show this. All right. If you see this, this is a HTML file. All right. So do any of the content that is being shown on the website is inside this? Is it present inside this? Like, let's see. Let's see if the galactic service is present. No, it is not present. Like, let's just investigate this HTML file for a bit. If you see, there is a script tag for beat, there's meta tags, there's the title that's responsible for this title, there's the link that's responsible for this link, and there's this description of the website, there's the author of the website and stuff like those. But there is no mention of the content of the website. Can you see where galactic service is there? All right. Can you see anything that is written over here, present here? No. Right. So how is everything on this website shown to you? Because basically the browser received a empty HTML file. It's technically not an empty HTML file. I'm just referring it as empty because it does not contain the whole content that we are seeing on the website right now. And that's also okay. It does contain the content, but right now we can't actually understand how it does that. So this is what I mean by the browser gets back the empty HTML file. All right. So let's recap. So I make a request to a website, and then a browser makes a request to that uh, website, and then it gets an empty HTML file. Till that here it is clear. And now we know that it's not technically an empty HTML file. It does contain some information like the title, the image for the link, for the like the icon, and other stuff like that. And it also does contain a lot of script tags. That's also true. All right. But where is the main content? The main content, the whole contents, all the contents of the website are rendered inside the browser. Now, what I mean by all the contents are rendered inside the browser. So what I basically mean by that is basically the browser gets the empty HTML file. All right, it receives it, and then all the script tags that you see over here, like this src main tsx, and also this one, all the script tags that you see, these are actually responsible for showing the main contents in the website. If you have ever visited if code base of React, or if you have like worked with the code bases of React, your your code base directory might be looking something like this. There will be a app.tsx file, there will be a main.tsx file, there will be also a index.html file. In this, you can see that you are linking this. And if you also see this, this index.html that I've created, it looks something like this one, correct? So what exactly this script does, and how does it contain all the contents of the website? Like if I see where is this linking, you say it's inside source, inside main.tsx, and inside what main.tsx contains is it's importing everything from this app.tsx. And this app.tsx is where we actually write the whole React code, right? So what's happening basically is the browser is receiving this empty HTML file, but it's also receiving these script tags, and these script tags are responsible for bringing all the contents to the browser. As you can see, this is the script which contains all the React code. All right. So this is what I mean by all the contents are of the website are actually rendered in the browser. All right. So this is what basically happens in CSR, client-side rendering. And why it's known as client-side rendering is basically, as you can see, the process of rendering the like see this index.html file is actually empty. The response that we are getting, it's actually empty. It does not contain anything. We are actually rendering it inside the browser. We are actually creating, or not actually creating, we are actually showing all the contents of the website inside the browser. We're injecting all that content inside the browser. So that's why it's known as client-side rendering. Because in technical terms, the browser is known as client. There are two terminologies related to this basic networking stuffs of how websites work. There's one, the server, on which basically the website is hosted. And there is a client, which is basically any type of device. It could be a browser, it could be an app, it's anything. It's a device which is trying to access something from the server. So uh, this browser is also treated as a client, and that's why it is known as client-side rendering. And React works like what I just told you. It follows client-side rendering. It does not follow server-side rendering. All right. So this is how basically client-side rendering works. Just to recap, I hit the URL of any website, and then my browser makes a request to that URL, to that URL's server. All right. And the server returns me an index.html file that does not contain the content, but what it contains are script tags. The script files that it contains, those are actually responsible for all the content that I see inside the website. So that's how client-side rendering works. The rendering of the website is not actually happening on the server, it's happening inside the browser, inside the client. That's why it's client-side rendering. Now, if we talk about what server-side rendering means. So in this, what happens is that a person visits google.com and the browser makes a request to google.com, just like it happened in client-side rendering. But what happens, what the thing that the thing that happens differently in this process is basically the contents of the page are actually rendered in the server, and then the browser receives the index.html file with all the content inside it. All right. So this is what server-side rendering means. Just to show you a example of how it works, like the difference between it, I'm going to show you. So I have two websites right now. One of them is made in React, and the other one is in Next. So if I show you the code, it's actually containing nothing. It's just containing a hello world, and that's what the React app is also containing. If I just show you, yeah, it's also just containing the hello world. So using these two websites, I'm going to easily explain you once again the difference between them and also like recap what all we learned till now. Let's run this. Let's actually run both of these. Let's run the React app first. It's my bad. Yeah. Then just a second. The React app is running, and this is the I think, yeah, this is the React. This is the next app, next website, and this is the React website. So if I see, if I just reload in the network tab, I see this request, and it looks somewhat what we viewed over here. All right, it contains the title thing. Yeah, it does. It says Vite plus React plus TS. It says over here also, and it also contains the script, the same script name as this. And I also showed you that what this actually contains. This is containing basically all the contents of the website. Now I want to show you another thing. If you see here, inside this tab, you also see another thing as main.tsx. And if you open here, this is basically the content of the website. If I go deep, that if I see that this main.tsx is actually calling the app.tsx file. So it also imported, it also requested that file also. So if you see here, I might be seeing somewhere hello world. Yeah, I am seeing the hello world over here. If I do the same for this one also, I just go to app.tsx and let's say I search for maybe uh, galactic services. It's not working because it's closed right now. But yeah, it's not that simple because this is having very folder-like structure. So I can't really go into and find all the contents right now. It's a bit complicated website right now. But if you see here, we can actually see the content that we are viewing over here. All right. But what Next.js does, let me show. If I just if I just reload and see this localhost, and if I see the response, if I go down, maybe open this, not like this. Yeah. If you see this, this is it. I'm seeing the hello world over here. If you click in preview, it's showing hello world. If you go over here and select the preview, it's showing nothing actually. Actually, this is the best one. Don't go to the response thing. It will be actually complicated for you guys. So just click on the preview tab and you'll see nothing. So technically, for you guys, it's for us, it's actually now empty HTML file. But if I see in the React website, it's actually showing all the contents. Okay, so this is what client-side rendering is, and this is what server-side rendering is. How this happens is basically all the uh, contents of the website are not rendered inside the web browser. It's actually rendered inside the server, and then it is given to us. So that's why we don't see the hello world in the client side rendering in React and in server side rendering, which is the next JS website, we see the hello world. Another thing that I want you to notice is that if you see this main.tsx, it's actually uh, requesting for the main.tsx file also. It's actually requesting for the index.css also, for the app.tsx also. But one thing that you don't see here is it actually does not like it. If you see, it does not request for the app.tsx file or the main.tsx file, or for that matter, any tsx file. That, like, you might be thinking that if I go inside the React app, you might be thinking that the main code is inside this app.tsx. That's why this is calling the app.tsx file, and you're right. And you might be thinking that the main code of the next website is containing in this page.tsx. So it might be calling page.tsx, but that's not the case because it does not need to call the page.tsx. All the contents of the website are inside the file, the HTML file that it receives. So all the rendering are done on the server. So that's basically what uh, I was trying to make you understand, server-side rendering and client-side rendering. I hope that you got a gist of how server-side rendering works and how client-side rendering works. And one thing I want to point out to you is that uh, you might be thinking that if uh, Next is supporting SSR, then it might not support CSR. But that's not the case. In Next.js also, you can do client-side rendering also because it's actually needed for a lot of purposes. And that's also done through a process known as hydration and stuff. If you don't know what hydration is, you can maybe Google it up, or maybe I just give you a very quick introduction to what hydration is. Hydration is nothing but basically the like It's client-side rendering. All right. Hydration happens in client-side rendering. It happens in React also. It can happen in Next.js also if you are using client-side rendering. All right. So what happens is basically, let's say I add a button over here, and what I do is basically whenever someone clicks on that button, a pop-up alert message on the top of the website appears saying that you click the button or something like a simple counter. So if I do that, basically you can try doing this out. You can try creating a button in your a very basic button in your React application, and then you can maybe preview it, or maybe you can go to the beta will be to go to the response tab, and basically if you look at it, the contents, like basically what hydration means is all the contents like of the button will be given, but all the interactive features of that button, like it will be hydrated. Like what I mean by hydrated is basically uh, all the functionality of the button, like when clicking it, it does this. These functionalities are attached to it later when the website actually loads and stuff. It's not actually done uh, when the website is like basically what I would say, like in Next.js, if you like fetch a website and you will get the button, but you won't get the functionality inside this. All right. So that's what basically hydration means. You can even search in Google also. You can search in ChatGPT also, and you can ask him also. So that's a very like it's a bit complicated topic. If you are learning Next.js, uh, if you go deep into it, then you might be learning about hydration. Another thing that I wanted to point out is why SSR is better than CSR, or is there any benefits to using SSR, or is there any benefits to using CSR? So the benefit to using SSR is your website is actually SEO friendly. Now, what I mean by SEO friendly? By SEO friendly, I mean that let's say I wrote a article on Medium. All right. Let's say write this article. 10 steps to host your uh, application on AWS, a beginner's guide. Now let's say I want to search this. And I search this. Now let's say if I get my article over here. So it's showing some articles from Medium, but it's not showing my article because this is not a very famous and it has not got any many likes and stuff. So that's why it's not showing over here. But what SEO friendly basically means is that if your site contains words that some user is searching for, then your website will be shown in the Google searches. That's what being SEO friendly is. SEO friendly is basically uh, the more optimized your SEO is, the better your search ranking will be. The top, the higher the position will be, your website will be shown. Like if I might get, let's say, a million likes on this, if I get a million followers, then I might be showing on the, then I might be shown on the top over this search. So help me achieve that. But yeah, that's what SEO basically means. Now, how does SSR help in that? If you see over here, like this next website, it's actually showing the content of the website. All right. So how does this helps in SEO? Now, Google has crawlers, web crawlers. What website crawlers or web crawlers means is that they basically crawl into different uh, websites all over the world, and they basically hit request to them, see what the website contains inside them, and basically they rank the page. So what happens is that if I deploy this page on the uh, like, or if I show you my, all right, if I show you my portfolio website, so this is deployed on the internet. So what Google does is that it hits my website, and then it basically sees what all contents that I have in my website. If I go to here and I refresh, so the contents that it receives, the web crawler of Google that it receives, is everything inside this. All right, inside this one. It's actually not showing anything in the preview, but if you go to the response thing, you can actually see everything, because this is actually made in Next. This is not made in React. And what basically the advantage of Next is that you can actually send all the data of the website to the crawler. This hello world over here, this hello world will be received by the Google web crawler, but this hello world over here will not be received by the Google web crawler. Why? Because the Google web crawler will hit this website and it will get this response. Does it here says hello world? No. But if the Google crawler hits this and it gets the response, it receives this one and it sees here, it's saying hello world. So that's why SSR is actually more SEO friendly. And that's why the companies actually build their landing page in maybe Next.js or in maybe raw HTML CSS. So basically, what happens is that Next.js helps in uh, SEO, but HTML, it's a whole another level of SEO. It's the most SEO friendly. Even you can make Next.js very much SEO friendly. There are methods to do that. But yeah, generally, uh, Next is actually way more SEO friendly than React, because you can see that the React websites will not even be viewable by the Google web crawler. So it won't be even ranking the page. So if you make a very, like, let's say you make a blog and you post every day, and you make that blog in React, and you might be wondering that you're writing so good content and all, but your content is not actually getting any likes. Uh, it's not visible in the Google searches and stuff. Why is that? Because you're using React. That's one a disadvantage of using React, but it's used heavily by companies when they are dealing with maybe authenticated URLs. By authenticated URLs, what I mean is that basically, uh, let's say this uh, Twitter page. So this Twitter page that I'm seeing all these tweets only because I'm authenticated. I'm signed in into my account. That's why I'm seeing all these tweets. If I was not signed in, I would be seeing the uh, page of the sign in and stuff. But if I go to the basically the landing page that I want to be crawled by Google, but the authenticated websites that I don't want to be crawled by Google. And that's also not accessible by Google also. If you go to like ChatGPT, you don't want Google to crawl this. Okay, you don't want Google to crawl this, but if you do want to crawl, let Google crawl this website. ChatGPT landing page. It's maybe open here. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not logged in, and this is not authenticated URL. Anyone can view this, and Google and OpenAI wants Google to uh, crawl this page and see all the contents and stuff. But OpenAI does not want Google to see all these contents, and it can't actually do this also. So OpenAI might be actually using maybe React over here, and it might be using Next.js over here. This is just to give you an example of how and where Next and React is used. All right. So I think that will be about what's SSR is and what CSR is and what's basically the difference between Next.js and React.js. So I hope you enjoyed the video and you learned something new from this video. And if you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.